If somebody comes to you and they think that they may have PCOS, they might have had some of the symptoms that you've just talked about there. What are the next steps in trying to figure out if it is endometriosis? What's the process of elimination?
The commonest presentation tends to be this kind of painful presentation. And that's because the endometrial tissue is causing discomfort where it shouldn't be happening to some extent, right? The challenge is that initially it may start off just like a heavy, painful period. And often we just get on and treat it. We do something about it very often. If you're a teenager who's having heavy periods and painful periods, you'll get given a pill. And actually, that is the treatment partly for endometriosis as well, because what you're trying to do is stop the period from happening and being heavy, and therefore you stop the endometrial tissue, which is seeded elsewhere and where it shouldn't be, from developing like a period would and then bleeding into itself and causing the pain and discomfort. And then suddenly you come up to the age of maybe you're 30 or 40, which is when you tend to see it more, when you manifest it more, is that you're thinking about, oh, I want to start a family. So you come off the pill, and then as your periods come back, you start to get this endometrial tissue that is suddenly bleeding and starting to cause pain, and that's where it manifests itself. So when it starts in that way, because you get pain atypically, what you do is you go down the route of must be a bladder issue, or it may be a bowel issue. So it could be appendicitis, and then you go down that route. You might think it's diverticulitis. And so you follow the location of the pain, and then eventually twigs that actually we're not finding anything here. And then you kind of piece it together. And so actually it all gets worse during the menstrual period. And then you realize, okay, maybe it's endometriosis. Then you start another process of investigation. You can't lay a hand on someone's abdomen to do a physical examination and make a diagnosis of endometriosis. You can't feel endometrial tissue because it's small, it's internal. You need really an ultrasound scan, or to be absolutely sure, you need an MRI scan. Now that's the non-invasive way of investigating it, but actually the gold standard, as we call it, is a laparoscopy. So you actually need a gynecologist to get involved. They then have to use a telescope with a camera at the end of it to go into your tummy, have a look around, and find these endometrial tissues as we find them. And then at the same time, they're able to kind of do surgical stuff to remove those. Then your pain gets better, everything starts to improve. You can actually restore fertility as well. There's a lot of stuff that has to be done physically once you get that diagnosis.
So